How we doing, everybody? This is Let's Be Real, Brad, and today I'm going to be talking about the fifth film in the James Bond series by Eon Productions, and that is the 1967 You Only Live Twice. Before I start getting off into this review, I just wanted to say that Sir Sean Connery, who has played James Bond in a bunch of these films that I have been covering, has tragically passed away a few days ago. He is one of the most iconic and great actors in the film industry from the 50s all the way to the 90s. He was definitely a box office king, racking up tons of money on all of his films, especially in the Bond films. And it just goes to show how much range that he was able to present as he got older. And he just wanted to do the best that he could in his craft and in his artistic integrity. And he is clearly one of the most influential and best actors of his kind. Thank you, Sir Sean Connery, for living the best life that you could, and thank you for all the great memories that you've given us fans, your family, and your friends throughout all the years of your life. Also, please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. It means the world to me. You guys have liked my video, subscribe to the channel. You guys are the best. So now getting into the fifth film of the James Bond series, You Only Live Twice. This film is directed by Lewis Gilbert in his first directorial debut in the James Bond franchise, and he will do two other films later, replacing Terrence Young. It also stars Sean Connery as James Bond, and this was basically labeled as his last James Bond film that he's ever going to do, and we will see how that translates in the next couple films that we will be talking about. It is based on the novel of the same name written by Ian Fleming, and it is the first novel that loosely takes from the novel, as all these other films have taken pretty much majority of the novel itself, and this one heavily changes parts of this novel, so we're gonna get into if that's a good thing or a bad thing. This film definitely is a mixed bag for me, and it is also the most disappointing of the James Bond films so far, because this film just shows that there is an oversaturation of the spy films in the market around this time, as they were just mass producing all these James Bond films almost every year, every 2 years, and you could see Sean Connery in this film definitely feels fatigued, tired, and doesn't feel like he wants to be in this film. I think the reason for this is because Sean Connery wanted to expand more on the James Bond character. We all know James Bond is very simplistic. He's the same in throughout all these spy films, because spy films aren't really necessarily on the character developmental side, the more emotional aspect, and I feel as though Sean Connery probably wanted to take that character there. So them not doing that, I feel as though he thought that he wasn't really able to show how much range he had as an actor, and wanted to move and make this franchise better than what it was. Before I start ripping into this movie, there are some positives with this movie, and I feel as though that the action sequences are really heavily handed into this movie. I really enjoy so many amazing and expensive set pieces that they use so well, and the action always feels bigger and better as we go along in these Bond films, probably due to the more extensive budget that they were given, considering that the first couple Bond films really didn't have much of a budget, and considering that these spy movies really enjoy the gadgets in this film, that they're heavily prominent in all these James Bond films, but I really enjoy the cigarette gadget that they use in the movie, or the little built-in helicopter that they use. There's some of these really cool and fresh new ideas that are really super cool. Finally get the character Blofeld in this movie that has been heavily popularized and parodied by so many films and so many TV shows, because it is truly iconic, played by Donald Pleasence. Even though he's only in 10 minutes of this film, he definitely rocks the boat in every single part, especially in the end of the film. The movie's just overall really entertaining in so many parts of this movie. I felt so invested in these action sequences and want to know how they're going to go with these twists and turns that they do present in the film. Sure, some of it's cheesy, some of it is kind of outdated and doesn't hold up as well, but I felt as though that the fight scenes are great choreography, there's of explosions, and there's really great ninjas that pop up in this movie and they kill a lot of people, so I'm definitely going to be entertained by that. My biggest negatives with this movie is the story. The story just kind of goes all over the place. It just feels like I don't really know what's happening in this movie. Writing just isn't that great in this movie. The puns are not as funny and clever. There aren't really cool and sexy lines of dialogue in this film. I mean, there are many points of stereotypes throughout this film, especially for the Japanese people, that just feels like it's just a white man in the 1960s writing about the Japanese during that time. The sexism of the girls is really bad in this one. Bond girls aren't really memorable as they have been in the other films, and I don't know why that is. I just feel like they're not as much of a presence as they were in the other films, and they just kind of felt lackluster and practically forgettable. This movie is very, very silly, and I know these other films are as well, but this one I feel like just isn't as cool. One of them being that James Bond actually has to dress up as a Japanese man, changing his hair and putting different makeup and aesthetics on him, but it just looks so stupid. I understand how they really thought that this would trick the Japanese people, thinking he was Japanese and he has to do Japanese training because of it. Overall, this is a very disappointing movie, as I really enjoyed almost much all the Bond films so far leading up to this film, and this is definitely the weakest one in the franchise up to this point. I hope that these films do get better, but it seems as though it's going to get a little bit mixed throughout as we go, and it was still a massive success, making over $800 million with inflation. So, you know, there's that. I can understand why people would really enjoy this film, as there are plenty of entertaining and really great moments, and this movie is definitely more of a product of its time than I would say the other ones. So I'm probably giving this film a 5 out of 10. So let me know, guys, do you guys really enjoy this one? Where does it rank in your James Bond films rankings? I want to know all of that down below. As always, I'll see you guys next video.